Ayo, wise, intelligent, the poor righteous teacher himself, founder of the algorithm, where we keep the culture on code. Welcome to episode 6 of Shut the Fuck Up, a series of short communications where we debunk popular myths circulating in this culture and community that serve no other purpose but to pathologize black people. And myth number 6, it's not about black and white, it's about green. This is one of the most superficial interpretations of social phenomena you might ever hear. One of the most perfunctory analysis of the racial, socioeconomic, and political dynamics of the country, world, and reality we live in. First and foremost, money, green, or economic determinism is not an adequate measure by which to interpret the world. Everybody and everything is not motivated by money, although money can be a motivator and an instrument for achieving an end. When we consider the fact that the overwhelming majority of wealthy black people, I've heard say this, live like Europeans, culturally, politically, religiously, spiritually, that they suffer from a falsification of their African consciousness, that they tend to interpret the world through a Eurocentric lens, that they have European views, tastes, conceptions of reality, and beliefs, they are not green. They are psychologically white and just might need to shut the fuck up. In this global white hegemonic capitalist power structure where wealthy black people are concerned, this is not the exception, but the rule. And as I rhymed in the song Being Black, looking black and being black is as different as fall and rain. The wealth of these black people is of no consequence or threat to the anti-black power structure because they are psychologically white, not green. Their conscious ideology and identity has been wholly falsified. Therefore, their wealth does more to sustain white global hegemony than it does to liberate black people and the planet from it. It is a myth that economics, wealth, resources, and financial gain drives history, that individuals, people, organizations, and governments are ultimately motivated by the pursuit of money. This idea, rooted in economic determinism, suggests that financial interests alone shape human action, but this is an incomplete and insufficient framework for understanding the world. Power, control, ideology, and identity have often outweighed economic self-interest in shaping societies. Money, while important, is often just a tool, a means, not an ultimate end. If we limit our analysis to economics alone, we fail to see the deeper motivations that have driven human events, from empires to revolutions to systems in modern geopolitics. Desire for geopolitical dominance and ideological supremacy played an equally critical role. The British Empire didn't fight to hold India solely because of its economic value. It was about maintaining global prestige. This is why even when the cost of empire outweighed the financial benefits, Britain clung to its colonies for as long as possible. As Viceroy of India Lord Curzon once stated, quote, "We are in India as trustees for civilization," end quote. This was not a statement about profit. It was about control, about the prestige of ruling an empire that spanned continents. In my book, 3/5 and MC, The Manufacturing of a Dumbed-Down Rapper, I highlight this prestige as a determinant over profits with an example from the music industry, where Clive Davis, then president of Columbia Records, said they manufacture, digitally remaster, ship, market, and distribute the works of classical artists like Anton von Webern, knowing they would not make a profit and lose money on the recordings. He said the prestige that comes with preserving European culture outweighs profit. Again, it was about preserving European culture and not green. Even in this modern political landscape, we see countless examples of decisions that defy pure economic logic. The 2003 U.S. invasion of Iraq was not simply about oil. While economic interests were definitely a factor, the desire for strategic dominance in the Middle East, for reshaping global power structures, and for securing ideological influence in the post-9/11 world played a larger role. Former U.S. General Wesley Clark recounted that the invasion was part of a broader strategy to, quote, take out 7 countries in 5 years to reshape the balance of power and not just extract resources. It was not merely for economic gain, but to maintain ideological supremacy. Remember, George Orwell stated in 1984, quote, "The object of power is power," end quote. Even on an individual level, human behavior contradicts economic determinism. Political leaders, corporate moguls, and even revolutionary figures have often made decisions that did not maximize their personal wealth, but secured their control over systems and people. Now consider America's system of child slavery and institutional racism. What began as a purely economic system eventually turned into fear of genetic annihilation and a fight for genetic survival once European elites gained more knowledge about themselves and their victims. The Enlightenment spawned by the need to justify the barbarity of an economy based on the brutal enslavement of Africans. A failed attempt to prove the inferiority of people of African descent led to increased knowledge and science in the fields of biology, archaeology, geography, history, and civilization itself. When history, science, math, and logic not only contradicted the desired narrative, but proved the opposite of the story the slave-based economy needed to tell, revealing that the African was not inferior and carries the highest level of genetic diversity among human beings, and that the European did not represent some more intelligent, highly developed end of human evolution, and all of the attributes of civilization were already established and taught to the Greeks by Africans, and that white skin is less than 7,000 years old, and the marker for it, SLC24A5, came from Africans, and that white people represent the global minority. These scientific truths changed the dynamic. Shit shifted from a purely economic determinant to fear of genetic annihilation driving the logic, based on what they discovered concerning themselves, the global African presence, and the black subjects of their economy. Based on what the European elites now understood to be true concerning both white and black people, they concluded that if whiteness is to survive, a system must be established to ensure that end, and simultaneously subjugate, control, regulate, underdevelop, and/or remove African or black people. They've written extensively on the subject. Books like The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy by Lathrop Stoddard, 1920. He was the director of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. They held conferences on the subject that included presidents of the United States. This is the system of global white supremacy and racism, its institution, function, and reasoning. It serves the same purpose as the segregated white alligator preserve or the segregated white gorilla section at the zoo: preserve whiteness. While profits are a major component of it, the small oligarchical tip of its pyramid understand the science. They know the math that really matters has nothing to do with dollars or green. Shit is literally black and white for them, and all their policies in Africa and the diaspora bear witness. So please miss me with the "it's not about black and white, it's about green" bullshit and shut the fuck up. We have to move beyond this reductionist lens of economic determinism and embrace a more complex understanding of history, power, and human motivation. As the philosopher Hannah Arendt wrote, power corresponds to the human ability not just to act, but to act in concert. It is the ability to shape narratives, control societies, and influence ideologies that has driven history, not just the pursuit of wealth. If our aim is to truly understand this world, get free, and shape a better future, we have to recognize that economic interest is often just the surface of a much deeper struggle for power, identity, preservation, and control. Peace.